Meeting will now come to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 19th regular meeting of the Bryan City Board of Education. Let's begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's begin with roll call. Rob?
Emily Eball.
Here.
Cinder Keeler.
Here.
Tom Lingvai.
Here.
Ryan Miller.
Here.
Glenn Newcomer.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, fellow board members, in front of you, you have the minutes of the September regular meeting as well as a special board meeting that was held in October. Upon review of that, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes that have been submitted? If not, may I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Moved by Emily. Is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tom. Please call the roll.
Cinder.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, I have a lengthy agenda this evening. I want to begin this evening by saying it's nice to be back. I know many of you expressed your thoughts and concerns of my health and well-being. And last month I was not able to be here because I was in an accident, but thank you to the Bryan community for all the prayers and support that you have given me. Under public participation tonight, nothing is on the agenda from the Bryan Education Association. We do have one person that came forward today that would like to speak to us, and there are a number of people in the room along with her. Public participation is one of those unique things that we don't discourage, and we appreciate feedback from the Bryan community. I'm going to take this opportunity, though, to read exactly what public participation is from our board policy. I think it's a good time to review it from time to time so that the public understands what's allowed and what are the limitations of public participation. So please allow me just to read for a few moments so that we have this before we introduce our guest. It says the Board of Education recognizes the value of school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on local school matters of community interest. The board is also committed to conducting its meeting in a productive and efficient manner that assures that the regular agenda of the board is completed in a reasonable period of time, honors the voluntary nature of the board's time, and using that time efficiently allows for a fair and adequate opportunity for input to be considered. Consequently, public participation at a board meeting will be governed by the following principles. Any person or group wishing to place an item on the board agenda shall register their intent with the superintendent no later than 10 days prior to the meeting and include the name of the participant, the group, affiliation, if and when appropriate, topic to be discussed. Each request shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the board president. We're waiving that this evening. We can still have it with the 10-day waiver. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. The presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. Public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. Anyone having a legitimate interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public portion of a meeting. Attendees must register their intention to participate in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, group affiliation, if and when appropriate. Each statement made by the participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration unless extended by the presiding officer. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Tape recordings are permitted. For operating, the board recorder shall contact the superintendent prior to the board meetings to review the possible replacement of equipment and must agree to abide by the following conditions. No obstructions are created between the board and the audience. No interviews are conducted in the meeting room while the board's in session. No commentary, adjustment of equipment, or positioning of operators is made. Presiding officer may prohibit public comments that are frivolous, repetitive, and or harassing. 2, interrupt warn or terminate a participant's statements when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, off-topic, antagonistic, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers for the removal of disorderly people when that person's conduct interferes with the orderly progress of the meeting. Call for recess or adjournment to another time when lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. The portion of the meeting that will be allowed totally will be limited to 30 minutes unless extended by the vote of the board. So I think it's important to understand that, we have a segment in our agenda each month for public participation. We always encourage people to talk to us directly if it's possible. I mean, working up through with the administrators and teachers, and if it has to get to a board level where we need to be aware of something, we certainly do not want to discourage public participation. We want to hear from the community. And therefore, this evening, we have one participant that would like to address us. Please, we'll allow you to state your name and your address and allow you to speak.
Okay. My name is Kim Snavely. My address is 425 West South Street, Bryan, Ohio. I am here being a concerned parent for my daughter, Sarah Snavely. Mike and Julie Stockman and Maddie Stockman and my husband, Larry Snavely, and I came forth last month after we were called in May about an incident that had occurred with our children, as you know, 3 years ago. We met with you in a closed session last month. We expected to have some kind of result of that meeting. We've never been called, we've never been contacted, we never had a letter sent by anyone on the board, nor from Mrs. Savage, about our conversation with all of you. Julie presented herself very professionally. She had every bylaw, she had every code of conduct, and I won't go through all those. And henceforth, the public has become knowledgeable of it. And as you know, it was in the paper last week. And I want to thank Josh for accurately portraying the whole incident, as graphic as it was. I think that portion of information was very crucial to the whole stemming of it being a defiled and illegal felony-like assault from Stephanie Grube to our kids. And I think it has been stated before that it was disseminating pornographic material to a minor by coercion. The coercion part was my girls were in the house. They accidentally came upon the stuff. Shame on them. I would have never done anything. But the point was she came out of Norlick and turned around her car and coerced our girls to go back to the house to show her a pornographic object, which I don't need to repeat. It was in the Bryan Times. To me, that is crossing the line. Mrs. Savage and her are very close friends. Stephanie Grube is the head of the union, so she's very well versed in what occurs in the union. It was 5 days that Mrs. Savage was notified, and within that week's time, she already had her letter of disciplinary action. How can you in 5 days say that you honestly have all of the information when the people that were most involved, Maddie and Sarah, were not interviewed at the time of the incident? There's no way you can get a complete and accurate statement. My girls did not get Maddie and Sarah did not get the chance to explain themselves thoroughly until last month's meeting. And we made it about them. Because they are the victims in this incident. I know you want to press some legal action against a certain sheriff. If anything out of this, I praise him for bringing out the truth. I don't know the incident. I don't know I care about that. I care about Maddie and Sarah. We were not aware. We were never, my husband contacted Mrs. Savage out of honesty and a love for his daughter and Maddie. She never followed up with him. She never called. He was very detailed with everything. And my husband is a minister of the gospel. And do you think that was something easy for him to tell, that my daughter held a 10-inch pink dildo in her hand? I think not. Cooley went forth. So my understanding is, in your letter, Glenn, to the public, because it is public knowledge, that you guys have obtained new information since the incident. And only a couple people were aware of this 3 years ago, I guess. I've read the reports to the Children's Services. Dr. Eckert should be praised. She did her best. She did report it, but not in full detail. They didn't even screen it in. So again, our kids were failed. I guess to me, I love this school district. We have been here for almost 24 years. My husband's a coach. And if anybody knows anything about my husband, he's a man of integrity and truth. I participate in the schools, we volunteer. Our kids aren't even in the schools anymore, and I'm still volunteering. My premise is, you have a beautiful school going up in this town. Beautiful shell. It's a shell. If you look at all the shooters, you look at all the pedophiles in America, I guarantee every one of them look like us. They're normal people. If you allow bad seeds in the Bryan City schools, like Stephanie Grube, who had sexual contact with our girls, and now she's looking over special needs kids who can't express themselves, what are you going to allow in the school for later? I know you've had other incidents. I'm not going to go into any of those details. But if you have an administrator who can't keep the friendship boundaries backwards, I mean, just not even acknowledge them and care about the kids. My daughter Sarah read the mission statement. Let me read that to you. The mission of Bryan City Schools, a district that never, ever gives up on the kids, is to empower each student to pursue individual potential and to become a productive citizen through exemplary and innovative educational programs in partnership with our community. We have sent things to the state. The state feels bad for us because the statute of limitations is gone. But you as a board can make a difference here. And us as a community voted all of you into your seats because we thought you were people of integrity and of truth and upheld citizens of Bryan. I know most all of you. I don't know all of you. I wish I did. But I know one thing about all of you: you have children. And this would touch your heart if your son or daughter were exposed to something as heinous as this. It's not just a flirt. It wasn't that. It was a physical object. And at that point of their lives, they were innocent. They are not anymore. That vision of those objects, the vision of my daughter holding that, is imprinted in her brain. And anyone who struggles with pornography, and I know such men and women, they will say as a young child they had an imprintation of an incident similar to this that they were exposed to that left an imprint in their brain for the rest of their lives. I say this because I not only love my daughter with all my heart, but I love every kid in this school district. My kids are brought up in I hope, a pretty sound foundation in Christ. That's very important to us. But there are probably 80% of the kids in the school district who are not. They don't even know who their parents are half the time. They have to babysit their siblings because their parents are making meth in the kitchen. It goes on, and you all know this. If you don't get the bad seeds out of City Bryan schools, you're going to produce some really bad fruit in the future. And that's biblical. I don't know where any of you are in your lives, but on a biblical standpoint, and in the state of Ohio, it's very sad to see something like this just get brushed under the rug because of a friendship. If we have an administrator that leads that way, that makes me feel very scared for our future of our kids. I pray that you will take into all the new information that you got, all the complete details. I hope you can't sleep very well tonight because you're pondering in your heart what's the right thing to do. And I hope some of you have lost some sleep this summer, and I feel bad for that. But it's a serious situation. My daughter's out of school. I pray she'll be okay. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I know we gave you more than a lot of time, but that was important to allow you to have the opportunity to speak to us.
And I do appreciate it.
Yeah, we spoke beforehand. Again, thank you for your comments.
My husband has one request. What are you going to do about it, and are we going to hear anything from any of you about your result of all this incident? I think it's a valid question.
We will definitely share all of this information with our attorney, and we will get back with you in the direction that we're going to go at this time. The official board response was what we printed in the Times in regards to where we're at. There is additional investigation work that's going on that we really can't talk about,
Right.
because of the limitations, but it is still ongoing. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we can, if people want to stay, they can. If they'd like to leave, you're welcome to at this time before we move on with the rest of the agenda. Thank you all for coming. Okay, back to the regular agenda now. Under communications, I'm unaware of anything for County. You said that you were.
I apologize for not being able to attend. I was attending my, one of our son's weddings and did not make it. And
We'll wait for the update next
I
month.
will do it next month. Thank you, I appreciate it.
So we have a number of professional meeting reports as well under Exhibit C. If there are no questions or comments on that, we will move on to the treasurer's report and recommendations. Rob?
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the financial reports and the cash reconciliation report for the month ended September 30th, 2015 at Farmers and Merchants State Bank. Deposits totaled $14,372,846. Outstanding checks and adjustments, $238,482. Deposits at Star Ohio, $3,232,590. At Morgan Stanley, $35,531,271. And at State Bank, $4,006,712. Petty cash and change funds totaled $7,750. Total funds on hand at the end of September, $56,912,687. As far as the individual funds, general fund balance was $12,758,730. Our bond retirement fund, $1,252,599. Permanent improvement fund, $2,350,970. Our locally funded initiative building fund totaled $3,247,779. Our project fund, our local share, $30,917,744. And the project fund and state share balance was $5,602,347. Total fund balance is once again $56,912,687. Any questions on those reports? If not, we'll move on to the amended appropriations. Our appropriation total at the end of September was $25,489,371. Changes during the month, an increase to the general fund of $75,000. Principal funds, an increase of $5,300. District managed activities, an increase of $10,213. An increase to the permanent improvement fund, $2,889. The building project fund, locally funded initiative, was increased by $2,236. The state and local share of the building project fund was increased by $41,359. Our concessions fund was increased by $588. Student activity funds were increased by $20,399 for a total increase during the month of $157,984. Any questions relating to the amended appropriations? If not, we'll look at the 5-year forecast. Each year, we update the five-year forecast twice, once in October and once in May. To bring your attention to the year ended fiscal year 15 on line 7.02, it shows our carryover balance. Going into this fiscal year, the general fund was $11,011,904. Our estimated resources, revenues for this coming year total $19,889,790. In the property tax, line 101, I projected our revenues will remain level for fiscal year 16 and 17 at $6.5 million. You see reductions in fiscal year 18, 19, and 20. That's because of the renewal of our emergency levy. Those revenues have to be placed down on line 11.02 in the forecast, and that's $1,910,000 is what our emergency levy generates. That levy expires December 31, 2017. Current millage on that levy is 6.8 mils. Based upon the estimated property value increases in our district because of the triennial update going on, that levy could possibly be reduced next year to about 6.5 mils, which is good news for our taxpayers. Currently, we receive about $221,000 from the state tangible personal property tax replacement on that levy, which equates to about 0.8 of a mil. We can place that levy on the ballot for renewal in November of 2016. That's our first opportunity to put that levy on the ballot. Once again, the county auditors estimated that our district's overall property valuation will increase by about $11.6 million, or 4.6%, as a result of the triennial update, which is taking place now and will be effective next tax year. Next line on the five-year forecast is income tax. I've projected those revenues to remain level for the five-year period at $2,880,000, which is comparable to the fiscal year 15 revenues. Unrestricted grants and aid, that's our state foundation money. I'm projecting $6,755,000 in fiscal year 16 and $7,290,000 in fiscal year 17. That is based upon the state's new biennial budget, the actual numbers that they have provided to us. That's about a 7.5% increase per year from the state. For fiscal years 18, 19, and 20, I have used the same revenue as fiscal year 17, the $7,290,000. Property tax allocation, this is a line that you see some changes in, basically because of the personal property tax replacement money being phased out or eliminated by the state as a result of our last biennial budget. The district last year received $1,455,000 in our general fund from personal property tax replacement and $105,000 in our permanent improvement fund. In fiscal year 16, the general fund will be reduced by $225,000, our revenue through personal property replacement. That's about a 15.4% decrease. Last year, TPP replacement made up about 7.3% of our general fund revenue. It would take about 5.5 mils of property tax to replace that money. For this forecast, I have retained the $221,000 personal property tax replacement money received for our emergency levy for fiscal year 16 and 17. The phase out of TPP replacement for our current expense levies is reflected in the remaining years. In fiscal year 17, we have a reduction of about $269,000. In fiscal year 18, another $291,000. Fiscal year 19 and 20, the same, both reductions of about $291,000. The personal property replacement money for our PI fund began this year. As you said, last year we received about $105,000. This year we're going to receive $52,879 in our PI fund. which is about 50% of what we received last year. And next year, we will receive 0. It'll be completely phased out. So those are the changes on the property tax allocation line. Any questions on the revenue side? Expenses, we have some changes coming in the forecast later in fiscal year 17 and 18 due to construction projects going on and the changes that will take place in our district. As a reminder, June of 2016, we will close the Lincoln Building. We'll close the middle school for remodel. In August of 2016, we're scheduled to open the new 6 to 12 building. The grades 2 and 3 will move from Lincoln to the old high school. Grades 4 and 5 will move from the old middle school to the high school for 1 year. Washington Elementary will remain open. In June of 2017, we closed the old high school. Grades 2 to 5 will move to the newly remodeled building, which is our current middle school, become a new elementary. We will close Washington, and we will close Central at that time as well. In August of 2017, once again, we'll open the remodeled pre-K to 5 building for our elementary. Personal services, that's our labor for the district. You can see it's $11.9 million this year, and slightly reduced in fiscal year 17 and 18. Fiscal year 17, we have 27 pays, which increases it slightly more than it would have been. We're not seeing the full result of some of the labor savings from changes in the district because of the construction, because we have 27 pays during fiscal year 17. Retirement and insurance benefits. This year we saw a 7% increase in our health insurance on Access Plus, 5% insurance increase on our high deductible plans, an 11% increase in dental insurance rates. Due to the labor contracts, the board share of that increased by 1.5% versus the full amount. Some of the operating expense changes in fiscal year 18, we should see a reduction of about $30,000 in repair expenses due to new facilities. These are strictly estimates at this point in time. We could possibly have some minor savings in utilities based upon the square footages. We anticipate reduction in custodial supplies due to new facilities. Total fiscal year 18 reductions in cost total about $251,000. So as we look at the bottom line, at line 6.01, where we show our surplus or deficit spending, this year we have estimated deficit spending of about $199,000. Take into account that there's a $75,000 advance to the food service fund that's included in that. That'll be repaid at the end of the year, so that number could be less. In fiscal year 17, we're showing a surplus of about $88,000, and then deficit spending in 18, 19, and 20. As we look at line 6.01, please also be aware that there's additional revenue down on line 11.02 from that property tax replacement. So instead of having a $1,133,000 deficit in 18, that number is more like 82,000. In fiscal year 19, deficit spending is estimated at 584,000, and fiscal year 20 about 1,335,000 after we take into account the property tax that we would receive if the levy was replaced. So currently we have, at the end of last year, we had about 210 days of cash on hand, and by the end of this 5-year forecast, we'll have about 156 days of cash on hand, going from a balance of $11 million down to about $8.8 million, should this run true. These last 3 years of estimates are very difficult to make. We trend some of the items, our purchase supplies, our supplies and materials, other objects, we just trend those at 1% increases. I try to run labor budgets for each year to get our personnel costs and our fringe benefit costs as close as possible. Once again, these are estimates based upon what's going on. today in our district and what we know today. Any questions on the 5-year forecast? I know that's a lot of information to try to digest, but
Rob, is there a recommendation or a recommended number of days of funds available that has a benchmark that signifies a healthy district?
talking to a lot of treasurers that like to have 6 months supply of cash, and ours is slightly above that, so we have 7 months ending the last fiscal year. So we feel like you know, we're in very good shape, you know, at this point in time. We still have to watch what we do very closely, but we have received some additional funding from the state through the foundation, and it's helped us to keep up with some of our other increased costs of operating the district.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Rob on the 5-year forecast?
Next item on my agenda is Fountain City Christian School lease. We have talked with the administration at Fountain City, and it's their desire to renew their lease for another year with us. They have been doing 1-year leases the last 3 years. This would be for the period September 1, 2016 through August 31 of 2017. Some donations. Any questions regarding the lease or anything relating to that? If not, we'll move on to donations. From First Financial Bank to our athletic department, we received a donation of $29. From Carol Sharp, we received ceramic molds donated to our art department that valued $2,369. And from the Claire Newcomer Club, a donation of $300 for our middle school guidance department. That concludes the first part of my report.
Are there any questions? Please continue.
Could I have a motion for that?
I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. Start to find the paper here. Tom?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and finally, change order on our construction project. This is with Rudolph Libby. This represents change order in the amount of $74,000 for changes to brick and mortar. As I explained earlier in the week in an email, these changes came about as a result of state bidding processes. We are mandated to provide 3 like-kind, close as we can, samples or products when we put things out for bid. The vendors usually take the cheapest route that they can, and that's what they base their bid upon. When we reviewed the materials that were going to be put on the building as far as brick, they were unacceptable to us as a committee. We went back to the drawing board with the architect, and we came up with a Belden brick that we had originally had specified, along with a different type of brick for the piping, the accent stripe that goes around the building. And as a result of those changes, it added $74,000 in cost. But we're going to get a building that we feel the public is going to be much happier with. It's going to more closely match our field house
Yeah, that
and
was
the
our
surrounding
intent all
buildings. So it's going to look like a campus,
Great.
I mean, versus something that kind of stands out and looks different.
Thanks to the committee for.
Tom was on that committee. I think Glenn was in on a meeting. Diana, anybody else have any comments regarding that?
No, I think the point you made, Rob, is the most important point is that the fact that the 3 buildings will tie together.
Yeah,
And aesthetically, it'll look very appealing.
yeah. So we felt it was important to make those changes for this is a building that's going to be here, and it's going to be something that we want the public to be proud of, and it's going to be a standout facility for our community. So we made those changes. We think it's well worth it. So, and this will not probably be the first or the last change order of this type based upon these same reasons. Things are bid out, and when we see what we're getting, if we're not happy, we're gonna call a timeout, and we're going to put in equipment and so forth in these facilities that we know is gonna work best for our school district. We've heard a lot of horror stories of districts who have gone along and put things into their buildings only to have to remove them in a short period of time because they don't work the way they thought they should, or they don't do the things that they need to do. So we're scrutinizing these things very closely, thanks to Ned Roofer, and we will probably have some more changes down the road when it comes like to HVAC and so forth. But these are things that we feel are important. We want to spend our money wisely. We want to do it right the first time.
Appreciate your extra attention to those details because, as you said, getting it right at the front end is way easier and less expensive than having to review halfway down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion supporting the change order for the construction project?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ryan. Please call the roll.
Ryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to old business. Anything else anyone wants to contribute in regards to the construction update? Tom, I know you're out on site every day, checking things out, and Diana and we're all interacting with them, and
Well, I think.
pretty exciting.
Yes, it is. There's no question about that. I think everybody's aware that was a little hold up on the precast, which is being used for the second floor level of the building in the academic wing. That's supposed to be showing up here, I think, the 1st of November, the first few days in November. And that slowed up the masonry on the academic portion of the building. Now they have continued to proceed on the masonry on other portions of the building, so it isn't like it's total lost time. The steel on the gymnasium is now set, and they're putting the deck down. Once the deck down is, they're going to be able to turn the masons loose on the gymnasium. So although we have encountered a little bit of hold on some elements of the overall structure, I mean, there continues to be movement on it, and I think that still by the end of November, early December, the structure is going to be, I think, pretty well stood up, assuming, and obviously this time of year, weather starts to play a critical role or a critical element. Looking at the extended forecast, it looks like it's fairly decent, so I'm optimistic. I think by the end of November, they're going to have a pretty good portion of the building stood up, ready for a roof deck. So it's a challenge. They got a lot on their plate. They really are juggling a lot of balls, so to speak. The elements need to come together, and nothing flows exactly as it was initially planned. So they have to make adjustments, and they are making adjustments. They're aware of them, and they're always trying to work through those elements in which are causing them some concern, but I think overall they're still moving the job along well.
I agree. The weather that we've had this fall has been very favorable for them to make up for maybe some of that lost time that we had early in the construction project when we had all the rain at the beginning.
Yeah.
It is exciting every time to drive by and see all of the improvements and the expansion and the growth. Every day there's a change out there, and it is an exciting time, but it's nice seeing the progress. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, we will move, I'm unaware of any other new business, so we will move on to the superintendent recommendations for the month.
Good evening. First of all, we're going to start with some MOUs. These were already approved by the BEA Association and the OPSI Association respectively. The first MOU is with BEA. As we did, I believe it was in August or September, approved bowling as a varsity sport. However, in our current contract, we did not provide for a coaching supplemental. So this MOU will address that and will stipulate the supplemental contract for the bowling coaches. There will be one varsity coach and one assistant for that program. Second is an MOU with BEA regarding OTES rules for the 2015-2016 school year. OTES is the teacher evaluation system. There were changes legislatively. We were allowed under regulations to approve an MOU to allow us to maintain the current or previous laws for OTES, and that's what we have elected to do. And again, BEA has approved that. The last two, one with BEA and one with OPSI, regarding health savings accounts, umbrella coverages. We would like the opportunity to be able to offer additional policies and programs to our employees, some that offer better benefits at a reduced cost. And in order to do that, again, because of contract language, we needed to sign an MOU. So I'd be glad to answer any questions regarding those.
If there are no questions, is there a motion supporting the administrative recommendations for the month?
So moved.
Moved by Tom, and a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Sandra. Please call the roll.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Under commendations, we'd like to recognize Homecoming Week in general for our whole district participated in some form of homecoming celebrations, whether it be dress-up days or the district-wide pep rally tour. Our homecoming queen in attendance and masters of ceremony, Queen Elizabeth Howard, and then our attendants are listed, as well as our masters of ceremony, Alex Dolan, Muscom Sharma, and Olivia Tusco. We'd like to recognize our high school students of action and Kiwanis students of the month. We did have 2 National Merit Scholarship Program commended students for the 2016 year, and those are Mackenzie Siller and Robert Kimball. So congratulations to both of them. And then we have our National Honor Society officers, as well as commendations for our girls tennis team and coaches on a 19-2 regular season. At the middle school, we'd like to recognize our Ike's Top Dogs in grades 4 and 5 for respect, as well as our middle school students of action in grades 6 through 8 for the character trait of respect. At Lincoln, we also use Ike's Top Dogs for grade 3, character trait student awards for grade 2, and our PE gold slip winner at Lincoln was Austin DeWitt. And finally, at Washington Elementary, we recognize our character trait student awards for respect, as well as our PE gold slip winners Carter Montavo and Piper Hanna.
Okay, thank you for that extensive list. Is there a motion supporting the accommodations for the month?
So moved.
Moved by Tom,
Second.
seconded by Ryan. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Under personnel recommendations, we have 2 FMLA requests, one by Tammy Elliott, one by Courtney Roofer. We have a change in hours for classified personnel for our bus drivers. This is due to 1 resignation and reassignment of those drivers. So Erica Hageman to 5 hours per day, effective September 23rd. Lori Douglas to 4.75 hours per day. And Tom Hall to 3.5 hours per day, all effective, as I stated, September 23rd. Transfer of classified personnel, Carol Huffman to Lincoln Elementary 1-on-2 aide, that was effective October 5th. And due to some new students moving into our district that have special needs and require aide assistance, Bridget Smith to Washington Elementary 1-on-1 aide at 6.25 hours per day, effective October 13th. Aaron Hughes to Washington Elementary 1-on-2 aide, 7.25 hours per day, 0 years experience, effective October 14th. We have our supplemental contracts for our upcoming winter sports, and those are listed by sport, and if there are any changes to the percentages, those are specified for you as well. We have substitute teacher Norma Beck, classified subs Jennifer Andrews, Amanda Figgins, and Judy Smith. And then we'd like to approve our volunteers for the winter athletic department season. Season Sanders, Matt Dominic, Doug Moore, and John Jackson.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, may I have a motion supporting the personnel recommendations for the month?
I'll move.
Moved by Ryan. Is there a second, please?
So moved.
By Tom. Please call the roll.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Thanks.
And then finally, just upcoming meetings. Our next Board of Ed meeting will be Monday, November 16th, here at 7 p.m. Our Business Advisory Committee will meet December 8th at 7 a.m. in the Fieldhouse Conference Room. Our LPDC Master Teacher Committee will meet at 8 a.m. on November 17th. And Capital Conference for our board is November 8th to the 11th at the Columbus Convention Center. And then we have reports from our administrators. We'll start with Mr. Roofer. I'll have you come up here so that the camera angle is good.
Got a few updates for you. Crazy enough, we're starting girls basketball this week, Friday. Boys basketball and a few others will start next week, and then wrestling's kind of a later start at the beginning of November. So we're kind of finishing up here towards the end, and we're already getting rolling on some, which has been kind of interesting already. Just a few updates on the fall stuff. Tennis was unfortunately, they didn't have anybody advance into the district tournament. Golf, we did have somebody advance. Jarrett Miller played pretty well in his opening round in the sectional, advanced on and actually missed a playoff by 1 stroke to possibly go to state tournament. So played really well down in Findlay. Had a nice season. Cross country, the boys and girls ran at PH last Saturday. It's a little cold, but it was all right. Our girls finished 3rd and our boys finished 4th. We had 3 on the second team. Kennedy Dick, Brittany Willis, and Michael Sheridan all finished on the second team, all NWAL. Football, we got 2 to go. Liberty Center and PH this weekend. And then the rest of them, along with cross country, they're going to run in their district over by Liberty Center this weekend, Saturday at noon. Girls soccer, they actually host a sectional game here. I believe it's 5 o'clock on Thursday. Boys soccer, they get, along with Mr. Rary, they get to go take a trip to Port Clinton tomorrow for a 6 o'clock kickoff. And then volleyball, they actually host their opener tomorrow. I believe that's a 6:30 start up at the high school. So a lot of things going on, things wrapping up, and then things getting rolling already. It's kind of crazy to think that, but that's where we're at. Do you have any questions or anything for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bassett.
Good evening. First of all, in the cafeteria world, if you looked at any of our menus, we're trying to rotate out some things and try some get some variety in our menus. This last rotation, we tried lasagna roll-ups. We're kind of trying them and getting some feedback from kids. We had good reviews from that, from especially the younger kids on that. So just trying to get some more customer-friendly, kid-friendly meals that are still nutritious and meet the requirements, but they're a little more exciting for kids to eat and see on their trays as they go through the line. Testing world, our KRA, our kindergarten readiness assessment, that we start testing our kindergartners right away as they come in the door, finishes up this week. That's pretty labor intensive for our teachers. They have to sit down with each kid and go through the test one-on-one with them. It's not a big test setting. So we're excited to finish that up. Our testing data from last year is starting to trickle in. The air and the park were some preliminary scores. They look very good for our district. It's very raw at this time, so I don't have numbers for you because they all get sorted out through that process. But I'm pleased with where our results look at right now, the way they look. It's again being very raw.
Thank you. Mr. Hort.
All right, good evening. Just a couple things. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up here in November. It's the first week in November for grades preschool through grade 5. All that information is up on the school's websites, on the Facebook page. But this year, again, we're doing a PTC Fast. It's an online program. In the past, as administrators, we'd schedule those meetings, get with the teachers, schedule more meetings. This year, we're allowing parents to do it. It's something that Liberty Center's been doing for the last 3 years, and we've been encouraged to look into it. Mrs. Cox has looked into it greatly, and so we're rolling with parent-teacher conferences that way. So again, we're encouraging parents that with it being new, if there's any questions, please call their building administrator with questions. We have our visioning meeting tomorrow. At that meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about a group with Mrs. Cox that went to Hicksville. We talked in June about the Ron Clark Academy, about the future of our Bryan Elementary, and how excited we are with that. And Ron Clark is a gentleman that has a private school in Atlanta, kind of forward-thinking kind of school. Hicksville and Defiance is kind of doing parts of that academy. So Karen took about a dozen people there within the last week or so to visit to see what all the excitement is. And I think there was over 70 staff members from across the counties. Go ahead, if you want to say something. Go ahead.
There were 70 adults present, and they represented, I think, 12 different counties, if I'm right. 12 different schools. 12 different schools. They represented 12 different schools. And it was great to see the kids interact with all 70 adults. It was amazing. The initiatives that they are teaching them. It was the direct eye contact, the handshaking, getting them prepared for the real world.
So it fits well with our vision for the future for our elementary building. And then also third grade, typically in the past, in the fall, we do OAA. That's been changed now. We're now doing the air assessment. And it has been pushed back. We typically would have done it by now, but it's now the first week in December. We're going to test December 1st and 2nd with our third grade. So we're going to do a paper test again this year. The test is about 180 minutes. So we have 2 90-minute segments planned for our kids. So it's changing as always with assessments, but can you imagine our third graders will be sitting in 2 90-minute sessions? Before it might have been 1 90-minute session. And then just a fun thing coming up this week is our Red Ribbon Week. So again, as we encourage with our character traits and also in being drug-free with Red Ribbon Week is also next week. We have a lot of special things planned for our children that way, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rary?
Good evening. And along with getting back to normal after homecoming week, we've also had a large fundraiser going on. So just some stats for you. Our students were able to net over $18,000 in funds to help activities and events, and the 8th grade trip that occurs every spring. So large thanks to Mr. Howard and Mr. Arnold for their help with that and helping that fundraiser. And thank you to all those who help support our students and their activities. At the 6-12 level, we've been doing a lot with our scheduling. We are starting to look at how to mesh the 9 to 12 schedule with the 6 to 8 schedule to get one common 6 through 12 bell schedule. So our teachers have spent their past in-service and our vision committee meetings working on how to best make that and create that schedule, and also analyze course offerings that we're going to have for our students, what we currently have and the opportunities our students currently get to experience, but also looking at what more they can experience as we can try and utilize this facility to the best of its ability. So we're having those discussions, they're ongoing, and so it's a lot of neat discussions happening at the 6-12 level right now. Couple dates for you. First quarter does end this Thursday, and as Scott noted, our parent-teacher conferences are coming up. Again, you can check those out on our website and social media pages. At the high school, we have a bloodmobile coming up on the 30th. That's Friday in 2 weeks. And then we have Veterans Day assemblies that we're going to be running across the district on November 11th. We have an elementary one that's going to be happening at the high school gymnasium in the morning at 9 o'clock, and then in the afternoon, grades 6 to 8 is having one in the middle school at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then as things are just continuing to roll along, we're already talking about fall play. So fall play, those dates for you are the 13th, 14th, and 15th, again at the auditorium. So moving quickly throughout our fall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all the administrators for all your reports. It's great to hear all of the exciting things, positive things happening in our buildings. The kids are busy, they're active, and that's always productive. So thank you for your report. Okay, we do have a need to go into executive session this evening under item A for on the appointment and employment personnel, item A. So if we could have a motion from someone to go into executive session, I would appreciate it.
So moved.
Moved by Tom in a second,
Second.
seconded by Emily. Please call the roll.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no action is anticipated this time, but I'd like to thank everyone for coming to the meeting this evening and tuning in. We will see you again next month.